Hello every pony. Okay, wait, no, I can't say that. Hello there, my percussion instruments. I'll find out a better name for that. Anyways, in the meantime, it's finally May, and you know what that means. This video was originally going to be talking about my personal experience with mental health, but I was like, that's a bit too sad, so it was gonna be funny stories, but then I was like, that's a bit too insensitive. But thank you, Doki Literature Club, for reminding me that I write poems. And not only write them, but often write them about my feelings. And that is not because I like the game a lot. Anyways, so I like making them, and I like analyzing them. So let's do this. I've got 4 poems? Yeah, I got 4 poems, and I'd like to share them all with you guys, and maybe open it up to interpretation and stuff like that. Starting with numero uno, one of my faves. A little bunny's new burrow. Every day it takes one step out, then one step in. One step out, one step in. One step out, one step in. One step out, one step in. Inside it was safe. Inside it was lonely. Inside the bunny lay. One day there was no one step out or in. The sun would shine, the leaves would rustle. The bunny was gone. I hope my reading wasn't that bad. I'm not really used to reading out my poems and stuff like that. I'm not that dramatic when it comes to my work. Reading them out loud is kind of awkward. I hope my voice didn't ruin the experience for you. Anyways, this poem was about my experience with not being able to take care of myself for a few weeks. I know that sounds a bit sad and stuff, but it's fine. I'm in a better mental state now, so. It was kind of horrible though, because I wasn't able to like step outside or anything like that, and even if I did, it was more like just a single step out, or I was forced to. Anyways, the bunny and stuff like that whole imagery was kind of just because I felt cute, honestly. I think that would have been like an interesting juxtaposition to like the whole morbid meaning, especially with that end where the bunny was gone. It was originally going to be intended to relate to like suicide and stuff, but when I was writing my analysis of the poem, I was like, you know what that sounds like? Maybe the bunny did escape. Maybe it didn't do that stuff and died from starvation or whatever. Maybe it escaped from its prison and it's living somewhere else now, happy and free, with maybe people that makes it happy. And that's what happened with me. I escaped. And that's pretty cool. Anyways, up to the next poem. In spring, the leaves would blossom. In summer, the leaves would breathe. In autumn, the leaves would wither. In winter, none would be. But when spring came by, there were no leaves left to blossom, no leaves left to breathe, no leaves left to wither. All was bare. There was none. No leaves left, none of them. The sun tires, the sun no more. The clouds cover all, as snow forever falls. I think this one had more of a overarching theme that made like way more sense. You know, the whole winter weather feeling type stuff, you know? You probably already got the gist from the moment I stated the whole winter not winter, weather, weather, like, scheme. I mean, commonly weather is used to, like, represent emotions and stuff like that. Anyways, that's a bit embarrassing for someone like me to not really explore more into that, but oh, I just write poems about my feelings, so oh well. Anyways, so this poem was supposed to reflect on emotions and how I felt for a very long period of my life. I've been struggling with this weird, like, empty feeling for most of my life that I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like sad, empty type feeling, and it keeps on coming back and stuff. I still feel happiness and like that. I'm not like an empty husk or anything, but it's just like this emotion, and it's kind of just sadness type stuff, you know? Anyways, the whole weather part was also supposed to reflect on how each emotion, just like each how do you say it, season would actually help each other. Like, you wouldn't have spring if it weren't for winter and autumn to, like, take away, well, not take away, but like reset summer. You wouldn't have winter and autumn if summer and spring didn't happen. That wasn't really a great explanation, but you know what? Just going off on a tangent there, I guess it kind of fits, you know? It kind of fits. Emotions are normal for everyone to feel, and sometimes it's good to feel sad or angry or anything like that. In fact, it can be useful in some situations, and sometimes it just helps you feel more grateful for stuff that makes you happy, I guess. I'm not like a therapist or anything like that, but that's just my grain of salt. The whole eternal winter stuff is kind of on the nose, but it's kind of just showing how abnormal it is to just have one season. One feeling for a long time can be extremely draining, and that's not really good on you or your body. Like how having a very long winter wouldn't be good for the planet, or a long summer. I don't judge. Anyways, let's move on to some of my older poems. These ones I've made like at least a year ago, but you know what? They still matter. Sunshine. I reach for the sunlight, albeit to no avail. I clench my fist, salty tears running down my face. All I could ever do is hopelessly fail. Darkness is all I could ever chase. Everyone's sun eventually came through the clouds, but mine ever thick and dark and gray. They were praised being ever successfully bound, but not me. Never someone as useless as me. God knows who, God knows how, wherever I'll end up in this mess. But help, I played my never-ending howl into this jury blanketed forever. Okay, so for the record, this was before my DDLC phase, so it's not like I would have known that having a sunshine related poem would be rather big of a reference, I guess. But you know what? We're going on with this again. Look, having sunshine is a very popular metaphor for happiness and stuff like that, so you know what? Who could blame me? Of course I'd have a poem that says stuff like this about a sunshine. Anyways, so again, this one reflected on this feeling I had, but my mental state back then was way worse than it is now, so it's a bit more dramatic and less metaphor-y. Well, okay, more metaphor-y, I guess, but definitely more on the nose. So stuff like sad clouds and being happy and stuff like that. It felt like mine could never go away. And that oddly links to the bunny thing, because that feeling actually led to that feeling, and so that whole lesion, let me just say, timeline of events might have happened, I think. Yeah. Anyways, so there's also a lot of like that middle paragraph, the middle stanza, I mean, talking about everyone else being ever so successfully bound and stuff like that. That is a horrible line. I'm sorry, that's really bad. Anyways, but I was probably reflecting on how I was always jealous of other people being better than me. I had really bad self-esteem, and so I would always be jealous because there's always someone out there that is going to be eventually better than me or have more of my talent. Well, not more of my talent, but a better talent, or even have my own talent and be better than mine. Dealing with like bullying and stuff like that, and not actually knowing that I was probably getting taken advantage of from like fake friends, that's kind of grating on your mental health. So I always thought I was useless and all that, and that's kind of sad. Obviously now I am a person of my own self, and I do deserve to be loved. And I have lots of people who are actually here, support me, love me as who I am, and I'm really grateful for them, and I'm really glad that they exist. And that last stanza, the whole God knows who, God knows how, wherever I'll end up in this mess, but help I plead, all that stuff. Yeah, jury blanketed forever. Really sad. But that blanketed forever, it's not going to be forever. It's gonna feel like it, but it's not. One day, maybe I could have escaped, and I did. And you know what? We don't know where we're gonna end up in this mess. And that's why it doesn't hurt to maybe explore it a bit more. So, yeah. I didn't actually expect these to be that sad. I'm sorry for making such a sad video, but I think mental health is very important to talk about, especially since it's so taboo and so much people experience it in different ways. And so much people like to express it in different ways. Like art, talking to other people about it, writing poems, like me. To quote my mother, my beautiful, amazing mother, if you're sad, you can always write a poem. And on to our last poem. One of my oldest, maybe even the oldest of the bunch. Irritation. My head throbs. My face flushes. Unpredictable, unimaginable, unsatisfactory. The ship at sea with wild, rushing rain and waves. Thunder, though unnecessary. Outside the darkened clouds, however. A sunny and clear day. Never mind. The ship was overreacting. This was one of my more randomer poems. I can't really put my mind on it, but it was one of the first poems I've ever written on a notes app on my phone. This was right after a stressful event, but I don't really remember that well, so I don't know. But it's very clear that this is about irritation. I mean, it's literally in the title, and it's has that vivid imagery and metaphor of a rapid rushing sea, representing, well, my frustration or irritation. It's definitely really straight to the point and simple about its metaphors, which is, you know what, old is gold, as they say, and it actually does work with this, especially when I was a beginner in my poem, adventure, whatever. I don't actually know if I'm gonna write more of these. Anyways, but what's interesting was that comment on the outside of the clouds. This storm isn't everywhere, and it's not going to be outside, or it's not spreading outside. I mean, it only stays in this little spot, and it's hidden from many. But that last impact line, that line separate from every other word, that line separate from every stanza, is, I personally think, was rather impactful in this poem. Never mind, the ship was overreacting. The ship was overreacting, but wasn't it a rushing wild sea? It's just this big, clearly dangerous storm is being tossed aside as something small. The ship, which represents me, went through all of this, and it's considered overreacting. I mean, thinking right now, I don't remember the original intentions, but I'm guessing this is about my doubt of my feelings being valid. The title says irritation, so maybe it's an uncontrollable irritation then. I wonder if there's other people who feel the same. Anyways, yeah, it's pretty on the point. And, well, not on the point, but you know what, I'm kind of proud of this one. It's one of my first ever poems, and it makes that, you know what, it's like that reliable, nostalgic feeling for me, because even though I just started, it's still pretty damn good, and I'm kind of proud. Anyways. So, that should be one of my last poems. Like, out of all of them, I know I've only made 4, but you know what? I don't know when I'm gonna make more. Well, this is all I could, like, muster in, like, maybe a few past late nights or whatever, but I'm sorry that this video was a bit late. Very late, actually. Very, very late. In fact, I'm very sorry to everyone, but things have been pretty busy. I got work, and I had my birthday. Also, my mental health kind of declined for like a week, but that's fine. I'm in a better state now. It should be good. So, you know what? I hope y'all enjoyed this really casual, simple video. I don't know if this is gonna get that much engagement or anything, but if you watched to the end of the video, really appreciate it, and thank you so much for watching. I hope all of you have a great day or night, and thank you for watching. This was completely made for fun and for my love of poems. See y'all.